right, hey everybody, I am here today with AJ Olden. We're about to get into and dive into some questions today. We're going to talk about ministry, music, family life, a whole bunch of things. So make sure you guys keep watching, make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff, because we're about to really dig in and get into some good topics today, you guys. So AJ, to start off, let's just kind of introduce yourself to those watching as to kind of who you are, for those that know you and those who don't know you.
I'm AJ Olden, for those that don't know me. I've been rapping for about 20 years, been rapping for the Lord for about 16 years. I do films, I do screenplays. I'm always in the community coaching. I work at a school for behavioral health in Waxhaw. I've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years now. So first and foremost, just give back to God the gift that He gave me, and just try to shine His light through everything that I do.
So let's kind of dig into our first question.
Okay.
All right, so we kind of took a break from music. So what's your new motivation going into your new music?
Well, everybody knows music is a journey. It's a rough business, and I had a close friend and brother of mine, Dietrich Reddy, that passed away, and we were like super close. We were his brothers. Everything that we did, we did together. We made sure that we followed each other's moves. We talked about everything. He produced a lot of my music. In fact, he produced probably the first bit of Christian hip hop for me when I was 18. And when he passed away, it took a lot out of me. It took a major toll on my life, and I just found myself kind of searching of whether I wanted to be in that realm, whether I really wanted to be confident in what I was doing, or whether I just wanted to have a regular life. And I just continued to search throughout myself. Met up with an old friend, and she kind of reminded me of how important my gift was and the good time that we had when we were doing music together. So now this new motivation that I have is just letting God be glorified in all that I do, and putting that message out there that you can be confident in who you are and confident in the God that's in you. And that's one of the things that I know that Dietrich would have definitely wanted to see.
Most definitely. I think too, also when I first met you, you were in that kind of first phase of your music, really eager, really out there. And so, yeah, most definitely I think that this is good. Sometimes that breakaway from music, you can kind of come back with a fresh mindset, still hold on to
Absolutely.
some good things, but also forward moving. And also too, the currents of music change, the business of itself changes, so it gives you a new focus. You were saying earlier, we're talking about labeling yourself as a Christian artist. So you were saying how like a lot of times your phone is not really ringing for features and things like that. So I've noticed a trend in gospel music as to doing features with secular artists. So would you be opposed to that? Would that be something you're interested in? What's your take kind of on that?
But music itself to me is immoral. It's neither bad or good. It's what you do. I'm incredibly open to working with anybody and everybody. I have people that, personal people in the industry that I want to work with, but also local people that I grew up with. I'm always here. I'm always ready to use whatever insight or whatever mindset I can to kind of expand my gift. So yeah, I'm definitely open to working with any and everybody.
I totally agree with that. I DJ as well as I'm in ministry, and a lot of times I get a lot of flack for that. So I know my dad used to always tell me when I used to take music lessons and things like that, he used to say, Kelsey, there's no gospel A flat or a secular A flat. It's all the same. All the music is all the same. You see a lot of gospel artists that will sample secular artists and vice versa. So it's kind of, there's no gray area. Music is music. And at the end of the day, it reaches people in a way that sometimes just spoken word does not. So, and sometimes, a lot of times, especially coming from that kind of Christian hip hop kind of perspective, you're trying to reach the lost at the end of the day. So the lost is not always somewhere, in church with a churchier outlook. Sometimes you have to go to the streets to win the streets. So that's why I asked, would you be open to that? Because a lot of times what I found, a lot of times people that really want to connect with you are not people in the circles that you would think. So most definitely. So y'all heard it here. He's willing to work with just about anybody. So what personal events led you to the direction of where your music is now?
Man, it's crazy you should ask that. I would say get married at a young age. I really had to learn how to reset my life because it's not just about you anymore, it's about your family. Having kids at an early age, they also put a whole spin on my life that I didn't foresee happening at the very beginning. I wanted to make sure that I was the best dad and husband that I could possibly be. And of course, making mistakes along the way and not being perfect, that really altered, I would say, the course of my career.
Okay, so you have the weight of a family, that's highs, that's lows, that's ups and downs, and it's not predictable. There's no manual
Right.
on how to do, how to take on that family responsibility. So how would you say that reflects in your music?
Definitely. A lot of the things that I write, a lot of values that I grew up with, from my mom to, not having my pops at home, to having people step in that were like father figures to me, to just having different people shine a light upon me, just gave me the opportunity to kind of soak all of that in and put that into my personal family. And even though we don't always get it right, I'm always one to believe that we have another chance when we wake up in the morning. So just waking up, knowing that I still have this incredible gift and having this foundation of family, it really gave me the perspective just to kind of keep going.
Okay, and then also too, like, I personally, I've seen you in the community with your kids, with your wife, so you're very hands-on with them.
Absolutely.
So question, do you see a music future for either one of your kids?
Absolutely. They play around a lot. My daughter especially, she has this thing where she writes. She's starting to write. My son, he was in the band, and he has a huge thing for percussion and drums and stuff like that. Even in the way that we worship God, they have their own set kind of little relationship with God, and it's amazing to see how that's evolved just by how they watch me and their mom.
Okay, cool. So that kind of leads me up to my next question.
All right.
And so, what types of connections or opportunities have you had with your music?
Absolutely, that's an amazing question. Well, throughout the years, I've worked with a lot of people locally, a lot of producers here. Just about any producer in Monroe you can name that I've probably worked with them at some point in time. But also on a global scale or a bigger scale, God gave me the opportunity to work with some amazing people. I was able to open for Alexis Spike right before her career took off.
Wow.
I was able to have a show of mine in Atlanta hosted by Kel Mitchell, the actor. And recently, I was able to, as recently as 2014, I was able to work with Canton Jones, or open up for Canton Jones at a recent concert that he had here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to Dr. Stacy and Dr. Delaney LeMay for giving me the opportunity. But it was just an amazing opportunity to be able to do all of those things. And the list is going to go on. I believe some incredible things. God is doing some wonderful things in my life, and I'm going to be able to do even more.
Okay, wow, those are some big opportunities. So for those that don't know, Alexis was a runner-up on Sunday's Best. Kel Mitchell, if you're a part of Millennial Crowd, we know him from Nickelodeon, but he's all over the place, and he's in ministry as well, doing a lot of exploits. And Canton Jones, man, if you don't know who Canton Jones is, I advise you to really look him up. He's done exploits for the kingdom for a long time. He has a long run in the gospel music industry. So those are some heavy-hitting names. To say that you've been amongst them and been able to work with. And like you said, this is just the beginning of where things are taking off and where things are going. So, with that being said, new music.
Yes.
New music.
Let's talk about it.
So, tell the people what is the name of your new song?
My new song is entitled Breakdown. It's featuring Rob Soul, which is Robert Earl Smith, and AJ Simon, aka Vessel. We wrote the song about 4 years ago. And I was just going through a time in my life where I was transitioning to that confidence. That's a key word when I say transition. There was a point in time in my life where I was struggling to be who I wanted to be as an artist and as a man. And it just so happens that those two things hit at the same time. So when I started becoming the man that God wanted me to be, I found this newfound confidence in myself. And I remember calling AJ Simon and just talking to him about this idea of the song I had. And I told him, I said, I grew up in the streets of Monroe around some guys that were doing some things that would probably be looked at as negative things in society, but they were just making a way of life for themselves. But the thing about it was I was so different from those guys that when they looked at me, they wouldn't allow me to do the things that they were doing because of the respect that they had for them. So it would be, man, we get ready to rock over here, go in the studio, tune the studio up for us and get it ready, we'll come in and we're gonna write in a minute. They had such a respect and a confidence in what they saw in me, and I thought that was dope. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to do those things that they were doing. So when I couldn't turn to those guys, one of the things that I did is go back to church. Because for some reason, I don't know why we do that as Christians, whenever the world doesn't work, we come running back to the church, thinking that the church, the actual church is the answer. And I knew that my mother had raised me around these great men and women and pillars in the community, in the church. So I was like, well, if I can't find my confidence in the streets, let me go back to the church. Let me go back to the place where my mom says the foundation of who I am is supposed to be. And I began rapping for the Lord at that point. And I never will forget that it was kind of rejected. I was in a place where my music wasn't accepted by the people that I grew up being taught to be like. So I was in this weird place, and I just remember saying, God, whatever you give me, however you give it to me, please let me find confidence in that. Teach me how to be the man that you want me to be, and let me be confident, and I'm gonna rest in that. And once I gave it to him, I got this confidence, and I said, you know what, that's a story in itself, and I want to tell that story. I remember calling AJ, telling him that, and I remember what he said. He's like, oh man, you gotta let me get on that. I was like, okay, so write your verse and poem. So I hadn't even wrote my full verse at the time. He calls me the next morning. I swear I don't think the brother goes to sleep sometimes. He called me the next morning, hours later. I was on my route at work. And he was like, man, I've been up all night and I made this beat. I want you to hear it. And immediately when he played the beat, everything that I wanted to say in my lyrics came out in the music, and I knew it was perfect. So right there at work, supposed to be focusing, I finished my verse at work, right? We get to Dietrich Grady's house a few months later when we get ready to record a song, and I just remember calling Rob Soul or Robert Earl. I remember calling him and just telling him what the song was about, and I wanted to feature him on it. So when I was talking to him about it, I brought it to his life, and he just began in the session just the same words that came to his mind and came to his heart. And it was just organic, it was a beautiful thing, and the song was birthed from it.
That's an amazing story in itself, because it seems as if you almost had like a prodigal son type of thing going on, where you kind of, sometimes you have to leave to change your focus. And sometimes when you go back, everybody is not happy that you're back, because sometimes it challenges them that have stayed, and didn't kind of go out and get their own testimony, so to speak. And to me, it speaks volumes in your music because it makes it realistic, because you actually live it. When people are actually living what their lyrics say, or actually living what their songs are saying, it's more convincing. You can feel it. You can feel the passion behind it. And I think the song too, even what you're saying, how it kind of birthed for so long ago, the releasing of the times is so important. People are literally breaking down. There's so much going on around us with just where we are globally, that the weight of the world is on a lot of people. And sometimes people need to know that they're not alone in what they're feeling and what they're experiencing, and that somebody else is experiencing some of the same types of things. So I think that the song itself, if you guys have not heard it, you definitely have to download it, definitely have to stream it on all platforms. It's out, and you want to really listen to it, because those lyrics are hard hitting from each person that's on that song. You can really feel their perspective and where it's coming from. And I think it's very important what you said about even just that kind of going back to the physical church. I think it's because we mentally know it's not so much about what's in there, who's in there, but it's almost a symbolic way of saying, I've got to tap back into what I know. Just kind of introduce yourself, who you were. If I had to try to ask who you were, who do you think that people would say that you are? I know, like in the Bible, Jesus asked the disciples and said, oh, okay, well, who do men say that I am? So if you had to poll the audience, who do you think that people would kind of play you to be? We've talked about artist. We've talked about you being labeled a Christian artist or what have you. What would you say the stamp would be on you? Who do you think that other people would say that you are?
Well, I hope they would say that I'm a friend. I would hope that they would say that I am a wise person. They probably would say that I'm a very stubborn person because they would probably mistake that for me being passionate. People might say arrogant, but when you don't know the story, you don't know the lack of confidence that I have, it may come off that way. People might say, I don't know, there's a lot of things that people can say, but what always is important to me is who am I trying to represent and who am I being. And if God is okay with who I am, regardless of what others say about me, then I'm definitely comfortable and content with where I am.
Man, that's great segue. And yet again, new music out. You have some new music on the way behind it. Please say yes.
It's an EP coming soon. I won't talk too much about it. I got some things on the way, definitely follow-up singles and stuff like that. But there are some amazing artists, amazing producers, and one of the things that I noticed is that people that know me, know that I do music, have probably kind of written me off because they feel like I'm sitting on my gift. But there was a time when I would just release music and release it. But now I feel like it's doing it in God's time. Because I found that once you do everything within His time, that regardless of what's going on around you, He will always make a way for you through that. So I want to make sure that I'm aligning myself with Him. But yeah, I got some awesome things on the way, EP on the way. Movie on the way that I've written, details, it's called When a Good Man Mourns, and it basically details a story about a young man who had to learn to find confidence. Sounds a lot like me, right? He had to find confidence in his life and his gifting, and he goes through some traumatic experiences, and he has to learn how to trust him and learn how to be loyal again to himself. And not only to himself, but learn how to trust God and trust God through those circumstances. So it's on the way and many other things.
Okay, that sounds great. So we have new music on the way. We have a single out now. How they can keep up with you, how they can find you, how they can find your music.
Okay, so if you want to go to Instagram, AJ Olden Music on Instagram, or if you just want to type in my name in every social media platform, literally I'm on there somewhere, just type in AJ Olden. And I thought it was important just to go by my name and just, go by who genuinely I am and originally I am. So, or the definition for those who know AJ Olden, you can still see me, still call me definition, that's fine, but I just go by AJ Olden.
All right, and then for me, you can find all of my social media tags at the bottom of the screen. We want to thank you guys for watching us today. This was Conversation Part 1, so there might be a Part 2. We don't know. You'll just have to stay tuned and see where everything goes from here. But for now, thanks for watching. You guys be blessed and have a good one.